Welcome, dear friends. Have you ever looked at your life? The endless cycle of chores, the sleepless nights, the quiet sacrifices that go unnoticed by the world, and wondered if any of it truly matters? In a world that applauds fame and visible achievements, it is easy to feel that a life spent in service to a family or a quiet duty is insignificant. But what if I told you that in the eyes of heaven, the reality is exactly the opposite? What if the most radiant crowns are not reserved for the kings and bishops of history, but for the weary mother standing at the kitchen sink? Today, we are exploring one of Padre Pio's most profound and touching revelations, the moment he pulled back the veil of the spiritual world to reveal a glorious, heavy crown waiting for a woman who thought her life was wasted. Before we step into this sacred story, let us take a brief moment to open our hearts to one another. If you're carrying a burden today, if you feel unseen or weary, please write your prayer in the comments below, or simply type Amen if words fail you. And I ask you, as an act of charity, to scroll through and find a brother or sister in need. Reply to them with a word of encouragement. Let no one in our community walk this path alone. To understand the weight of this story, we must first understand the heart of Saint Pio of Pietrelcina. We often remember him for the stigmata, the miracles of healing, and his ability to be in two places at once. But perhaps his greatest gift was his ability to see the soul as God sees it. Padre Pio lived in two worlds simultaneously. While his feet walked the stone floors of the monastery in San Giovanni Rotondo, his spirit was constantly attuned to the supernatural. He saw guardian angels standing beside visitors. He smelled the scent of sin or the fragrance of holiness, and occasionally, God allowed him to see the eternal rewards being prepared for his spiritual children. This specific account takes us back to the rugged landscape of the Gargano Mountains in the mid-20th century. It was a time of hardship. Italy was recovering from the devastation of war, and life for the common people was a daily struggle for survival. Among the thousands of pilgrims who flocked to the monastery was a woman. Let us call her Maria, a representative of so many faithful souls. Maria was not a mystic. She was not a nun cloistered in a convent. She was a mother of a large family, living a life that, from the outside, looked entirely ordinary. Maria's life was defined by service. Her hands were roughened by lye soap and cold water from scrubbing clothes in the river. Her back ached from carrying wood and water. Her days were a blur of cooking, cleaning, mending, and caring for children who were often sick or hungry. To the world, she was just a peasant woman. But internally, Maria was suffering from a deep spiritual fatigue. She looked at the priests celebrating Mass. She looked at the nuns in their habits, and she felt a profound sense of uselessness. She believed that to be holy, one had to do great things. She thought that because her life was consumed by the mundane tasks of a household, she was failing to serve God. She felt her life was small, wasted, and invisible. She made the journey up the winding roads to San Giovanni Rotondo with a heavy heart, not just because of her physical exhaustion, but because of this spiritual discouragement. She waited in the long, crowded lines for confession, trembling at the thought of speaking to the holy friar. When her turn finally came, she knelt behind the screen, the scent of incense and the distinct fragrance of roses that often accompanied Padre Pio filling the small space. She began to confess her sins, but soon her real burden spilled out. She confessed her frustration. She told Padre Pio that she felt she was doing nothing for God. She wept as she described her days. "Padre, I pray, but my prayers are distracted by the children. I want to go to church, but I must stay home to care for the sick. My life is nothing but washing dishes and sweeping floors. I am useless to the kingdom of heaven." She expected a penance. She expected perhaps a scolding for her lack of gratitude. But instead, there was a long silence from the other side of the grill. Padre Pio, who had been listening with his head bowed, suddenly looked up. But he wasn't looking at the wooden screen. His gaze seemed to penetrate through the physical world into the eternal. His expression changed from the stern confessor to one of awe and deep tenderness. He spoke to her, his voice trembling with emotion. "My daughter," he said, "if you could only see what I see." He then began to describe a vision that God was placing before his eyes at that very moment. He told her, "I see a crown. It is being prepared for you in heaven. It is not a simple crown of flowers, but a crown of gold, heavy with glory." Maria was stunned into silence. She couldn't believe he was speaking to her. Padre Pio continued, describing the radiance of this crown. He said, "This crown is studded with gems so bright they would blind us if we saw them with earthly eyes. Do you know what these gems are? They are your tears. They are the moments you swallowed your anger when you were tired. They are the nights you sat up with a sick child, denying yourself sleep. Every time you swept the floor for the love of your family, God polished a diamond for your crown." Then, Padre Pio said something that shook her to her core, something that serves as a lesson for all of us. He said, "I see the crowns of bishops, and I see the crowns of kings. But yours is brighter, because you serve in the shadows, with no applause, solely out of duty and love. This is the martyrdom of the heart." The saint explained to her the theology of the white martyrdom. In the early church, there was the red martyrdom, blood shed for Christ. It was visible, dramatic, and instantaneous. But there is also a white martyrdom, a martyrdom without blood. It is the slow, daily dying to oneself. It is the mother who puts her own needs last day after day, year after year. It is the father who works a job he dislikes to put food on the table, offering his sweat as a prayer. This martyrdom is not seen by historians, but it is seen by God. Padre Pio told Maria, "You think your distractions in prayer are a failure. When you turn from your rosary to comfort a crying child, that act of love is a prayer more powerful than words. Your kitchen is your altar. Your work is your liturgy." This revelation completely transformed Maria. She did not leave the confessional with a lighter load of work. The dishes and the laundry still waited for her at home, but she left with a transformed vision. She realized that her life was not a series of wasted moments, but a treasure hunt where every small sacrifice was a coin of gold to be stored in heaven. This story forces us to pause and reflect on our own lives. How often do we fall into the trap of measuring our spiritual worth by our spiritual activities? We think we are only holy when we are in the church building or when we are reading scripture, but Padre Pio teaches us that the highest holiness is often found in the most mundane realities, provided they are lived with love. Padre Pio often spoke of this connection between the earthly and the divine. He once wrote to a spiritual daughter, "Jesus does not ask you to do great things, but to do small things with great love." This echoes the little way of Saint Thérèse of Lisieux, a Saint Pio loved dearly. Thérèse, like the mother in our story, realized she could not be a missionary or a martyr in the traditional sense. So she decided to seek holiness in the folding of napkins and the tolerance of annoying sisters. Padre Pio validated this path time and time again. Let us dig deeper into why Padre Pio considered this crown so heavy and bright. It comes down to the purity of the intention. When a person does something great in public, perhaps giving a large donation or leading a ministry, there is always the temptation of vanity. We receive praise. We feel good about ourselves. That praise is a reward here on earth. But the mother changing a diaper at 3 a.m.? There is no applause. There is no plaque with her name on it. There is only the act of service and the love for the child. Because there is no earthly reward, the heavenly reward remains intact, compounding with interest. God is the only witness, and God is a generous paymaster. There is another touching aspect of Padre Pio's life that mirrors this respect for the hidden vocation of motherhood. It involves his own mother, Maria Giuseppa, known affectionately as Mama Peppa. When Padre Pio was ordained a priest, his mother was there, her eyes filled with tears. Throughout his ministry, whenever she visited him, something extraordinary would happen. It was customary for the faithful to kneel and kiss the hand of the priest, as his hands are anointed to hold the Eucharist. But when Mama Peppa would try to take Padre Pio's hand to kiss it, he would pull it away. Instead, the great mystic, the man who bore the wounds of Christ, would take her small, work-worn hands in his own. He would bow down and kiss her palms. When asked why he did this, he replied, "If it were not for these hands, there would be no priest to hold the host." He recognized that his priesthood, his ministry, and all the souls he saved were, in part, the fruit of her sacrifice. Her hidden life, her poverty, her guidance, these were the foundation upon which his visible ministry was built. He saw the crown waiting for Mama Peppa, just as he saw it for the weary woman in the confessional. This perspective was not limited to mothers. Padre Pio applied this to all who suffered in silence. There are records of him speaking to men who labored in the fields under the scorching sun. One man lamented that he was too tired to pray the rosary at the end of the day. Padre Pio told him, "Your sweat is a rosary. Offer your fatigue to Jesus, and it becomes incense." This is a revolutionary teaching for us today. We live in a culture that is obsessed with impact. We want to change the world. We want to leave a legacy. But Padre Pio reminds us that the kingdom of heaven is built on the invisible bricks of patience and humility. Imagine for a moment the spiritual reality of your own home or workplace. When you hold your tongue in the face of an insult, a jewel is formed. When you choose to smile at a stranger despite your own headache, a thread of gold is woven. When you forgive someone who has not asked for forgiveness, a light bursts forth in the spiritual realm that is brighter than the sun. Padre Pio warned us, however, that this crown can be tarnished by complaint. If we do the work but grumble and fill our hearts with bitterness, we lose the merit. The key to the vision he shared with Maria was her heart's desire to love, despite her feelings of inadequacy. It was her humility that made her crown so bright. She didn't think she deserved anything, which is exactly why she was given everything. There is a deeper theological mystery here regarding suffering. Padre Pio often said, "Suffering is the currency of heaven." He did not mean we should seek out pain, but that we should not waste the pain that life inevitably brings. For the mother, the suffering is often emotional. Worry for her children, the feeling of isolation, the loss of her personal identity. Padre Pio viewed this suffering as a participation in the passion of Christ. Just as Christ carried the cross, the mother carries the burdens of her family. He once told a woman who was grieving the rebellious path of her son, "You are a mother. You must be a co-redeemer for him. Your tears, joined to the blood of Christ, can save his soul when words fail." He empowered her. He took her out of the role of a passive victim and placed her in the role of a spiritual warrior. Her kitchen was her battlefield, and her weapon was her sacrificial love. Let us return to the vision of the crown. Why did Padre Pio say it was heavier than the crowns of kings? In the spiritual order, weight corresponds to glory. The Hebrew word for glory, kabod, literally means weight or heaviness. A life of frivolous pleasure is light. It has no substance. It blows away like chaff in the wind. But a life of sacrificial love has substance. It has gravity. It leaves a dent in the universe. The woman in our story felt light in a negative way. She felt insubstantial, but Pio revealed that she was actually a spiritual giant. Her soul had gained weight through her service. This is a tremendous hope for anyone who feels that their life is slipping away unnoticed. Nothing is lost. Every hair on your head is counted, and every sigh of your heart is recorded. Let us also consider the timing of this message. We live in an era where the role of the mother and the value of domestic life are often minimized. We are told that real life happens outside the home, in the marketplace, in the pursuit of careers. While these things are good, Padre Pio's vision calls us back to a foundational truth. The molding of souls and the nurturing of life is the work that is closest to the heart of God. Padre Pio saw the future, and he often wept for the state of the family. He knew that if the mothers and fathers lost sight of the nobility of their vocation, society would crumble. By revealing this crown to the woman, he was not just comforting her, he was erecting a fortress of truth for all of us. He was declaring that the hand that rocks the cradle truly does rule the world, not through political power, but through spiritual power. As we reflect on this, I want to speak directly to you. Perhaps you are not a mother. Perhaps you are caring for an aging parent. Perhaps you are suffering from a chronic illness that keeps you homebound. Perhaps you are working a job where you are underappreciated and overworked. This story is for you. Padre Pio is looking at you today with that same penetrating gaze. If you could see what he sees, you would see that you are not building a resume for earth. You are crafting a regalia for eternity. He invites us to change our perspective on interruptions. We often view interruptions as obstacles to our work. The phone rings, the baby cries, the car breaks down. We get frustrated, but in the eyes of the saint, these are not obstacles. They are the work. They are the raw materials of our sanctity. There is another testimony of a woman who came to Padre Pio, overwhelmed by the noise and chaos of her house. She asked for peace. Padre Pio told her, "Peace is not the absence of noise. Peace is the presence of God." He told her to find God in the noise. He challenged her to see the demands of her family not as a distraction from God, but as the disguise of God. Jesus comes to us in the hungry, the thirsty, the naked. For a mother, Jesus comes in the form of the child who needs a drink of water in the middle of the night. When we view life through this lens, everything changes. The drudgery becomes divine. The boredom becomes a burnt offering. The invisibility becomes a secret intimacy with the Creator. Padre Pio lived this himself. For 50 years, he barely left the monastery. He heard confessions for up to 15 hours a day. It was grueling, repetitive, and exhausting. He listened to the same sins, the same complaints, day after day. He was in constant pain from the stigmata. Yet, he did it with a love that drew the whole world to him. He showed us that you don't need to travel the world to find God. You just need to stay at your post and love until it hurts. The woman who received the vision of the crown eventually went home. She grew old. Her children grew up. She eventually passed from this life. We do not know her name in the history books. There are no statues of her in Rome. But if Padre Pio's vision was true, and we believe it was, then the moment she took her last breath, she was not met with obscurity. She was met with a coronation. She was welcomed by the hosts of heaven not as just a housewife, but as a queen who had conquered self-love through a lifetime of white martyrdom. So, my friends, what are we to do with this beautiful teaching? First, let us stop judging ourselves by the world's standards. Let us stop looking at social media and comparing our quiet lives to the loud lives of others. The most important things happening on earth right now are likely happening in secret rooms where people are praying, forgiving, and serving without recognition. Second, let us offer up our daily duties. When you wake up tomorrow and face the same routine, pause for a moment. Make a morning offering. Say, "Lord, I offer you this day. I offer you the dishes, the traffic, the difficult co-worker, the fatigue. United with the sacrifice of Jesus, let this be my prayer. Third, let us encourage the hidden martyrs in our lives. If you know a mother who is struggling, remind her of her crown. If you know a father who is weary, tell him his sacrifice has weight. Be the voice of Padre Pio for them. As we conclude this reflection, imagine that scene in the confessional one last time. Imagine the veil being pulled back for you. Whatever burden you are carrying today, whatever invisible cross is pressing into your shoulder, know that it is fashioning something magnificent. You are not forgotten. You are not wasting away. You are being prepared. Padre Pio, the great saint of the confessional, saw the truth that is hidden from our eyes. He saw that God gathers up our tears and crystallizes them into jewels. He saw that love, lived out in the smallest actions, builds a monument that will outlast the stars. Let this knowledge give you strength. Let it give you a renewed sense of dignity. Lift up your head, not in pride, but in hope. For the King of Kings is watching, and in his hands he holds a crown that fits only you, a crown forged in the fires of your daily love, waiting for the day you finally come home. May the peace of Christ, which surpasses all understanding, guard your hearts and your minds. And may Saint Pio of Pietrelcina pray for us, that we may have the eyes to see the glory hidden in the ordinary. Thank you for spending this time with us. Until we meet again, walk in faith and remember, you are never alone.